So good morning, everyone. My name is Vivek Menon, and I know that from the flyers, from the marketing, the shared emails and everything, that you might have known that I will not be. I was not the one who was supposed to be in the meeting. It was Sudhi Chabra and Deepthi Shastri, but Deepthi Shastri is having a trouble with her throat, so I will be taking over the session that Deepthi Shastri would have taken. And with me, Shruti Chabra will also be joining. So we will be discussing about the future of cybersecurity, industrial cybersecurity, talking about ISA IEC 2062-2004-3 and global regulatory convergence today. So we are basically discussing about how the cybersecurity is very important, or how it is being transformed in the field of IT and OT sector. So operational security, we all know that it is very important. It starts from even from a small data or gas pipe or the oil pipe going, measuring the pressure differences and doing all the actions automated in the particular area, in order to make sure that the security, to make sure that the any kind of activities that we bring towards the particular issue will be managed accordingly, right? So that is the whole point of making sure that why do we need an OT or the automated industrial system, in order to make sure that the particular set of activities are being managed throughout the session. So in today's session, we will be talking about different areas associated with the IECS, which is Industrial Automated System. So we'll talk about the introduction to IA's course overview, learning objectives, how that particular standard that we are talking today, which is IEC 62004-3, is important in the organization, in order to make sure that the proper management of IT and OT sector, to provide maximum security, in order to make sure that this automated management system will be secure from any kind of threat actors that is trying to attack the system or to cause any kind of disturbance into the system, to make sure that the particular part or the sector will be managed throughout the particular any kind of flow or workflow that happens in the organization. So we will also talk about why the ISA IEC 62004-3 matters, fundamental security concept, risk management in IT and OT sector that we will be looking forward into, in order to manage, in order to understand about what are the systems, what are the process that we will be doing, foundational requirement, why IACS framework matters, governance and implementation, roles in collaboration, and training responses, why it is important in the organization in order to learn or understand about the provide training to the employees, provide training to the people who are using the particular process, in order to make sure that these people understand about the process, what are the do's and don'ts in the system, understand about how the systems work, in order to make sure that to provide a better understanding in the topic, which is IACS, which we'll be talking about. Also, we'll also talk about the incident response and verification, in order to make sure that the people will be aware about the what to do if some event or an incident happens in the organization, which is causing any kind of disturbance to the automated flow or the flow of the process or the operation that should have meant to work in the first place, right? So without any kind of delay, I think we can move forward to the IACS framework. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Vivek Menon, and I am a corporate trainer working with Koenig Solutions. I have trained, my forte is in cybersecurity, information security, cybercrime investigations areas, and I will be taking the session on behalf of Dr. Deepthi Shastri, and here with me also join Shruti Chabra, Ms. Shruti Chabra, who we both will be taking the sessions today about the ISA IEC 62004-3 and why the particular standard matters and how it is related with IT, OT, and also IACS processes. Yeah. So introduction to industrial automation and control system. So what is an industrial automated control system? We know that there is a particular pipeline or a gas line or an oil pipe, which is transferring oil from one place to another, transferring gas from one place to another. Suppose how we are measuring this oil pipe or the pressure of this oil pipe in order to understand if there is any kind of pressure leakage, if there is any kind of leakage in through the pipe, if there is any kind of pressure differences that happens in the system. Doing this manually will be having a huge amount of work a person have to put forward into. Also, this particular manual analysis will not be accurate all the time. We cannot measure the pressure of the pipe every hour. What if once we measured the pipe, measured the pressure of the pipe and left, and if that particular pipe started leaking? Now, the next round of checking will come 1 hour after. Now, after by this time, the pipe would have leaked and could have caused a huge amount of issues associated with that particular problem, associated with that particular oil pipe. Oil would have spilled all over the particular place, and it can cause a huge amount of catastrophic destruction. Now, how to make sure that this is not happening? That is where the industrial automation and control systems comes in. The tools like PLS, the SCADA security system, in order to make sure that such kind of automated process in an operational technology, all these are operational technology, in order to make sure that a proper security can be provided, a proper management of these kind of problems can be managed through the particular security, can be managed by the IACS or the Industrial Automation Control System in the organization. I hope why the particular IACS is very important. I hope that everyone got to know why a particular IACS is very important. I'm not only talking about the oil industry. I'm not talking about the pipe leakage. It happens everywhere. It happens in energy sector, manufacturing sector, water treatment, and support transportation sector, causing it automatically measures the complete flow of the system. It automatically measures understand what the process is. If there is any kind of leakage, if there is any kind of disruption, a huge amount of disruption, or if it finds any kind of disruption, it will alert us, and it will also automatically do the process in order to make sure that the particular system has been to get damage control. Like for example, in the things that I told about the oil leakage, if at all it find any kind of pressure differences in the particular system, it will automatically block the flow of the oil in order to make sure that no amount of further oil will not be sent or will not be transported from one point to another, to prevent any kind of issues that could have caused. Even if that is a false alert, it is alerting us if there is any kind of change in the pressure, and it is blocking in order to prevent a catastrophic event from happening. Now, the particular standard which we are talking today, which is ISA IEC 62443, will give us a complete understanding about how, from the planning, designing, implementing, and managing a robust cybersecurity issue or cybersecurity programs in order to manage all these areas. We'll talk about the security part of this particular standard in order to make sure that the problem or the understanding how to make sure that the particular system can be secured using multiple IT security structures, OT security structures. We'll be discussing all this in the upcoming session. Risk-based framework in order to make sure that the particular risk associated with the system has been secure, in order to understand what are the risks associated with our organization. There is nothing called as 100% risk-free, right? So in order to make sure that what are the risks that is associated with our organization, is that risk under the risk acceptance level? We need to understand all these areas in order to make sure that our organization will not be causing any kind of issue, will be secure, and will not be causing any kind of problems in those processes. Clear? So moving on to the course overview, the PCB provide a 4-day intensive training, which is having a beautifully curated modules starting from all the areas. We'll be covering all the clauses stated in ISA IEC 62443, and giving a huge amount of understanding about a risk-based framework, a design secure architecture, and which can be used by the strategic people, the implementer, the technology people, in order to make sure that the particular part or the particular implementation in the organization has been done. So there are different sectors for this particular standard. We will be discussing about that. There are different four types of standards which is coming under 62443, in order to make sure that the particular process or the each covers different areas. One is the risk, one is the design, one is the implementation of all the programs like IT and OT, the functions that we do, the the a programmable a logical unit, the SCADA systems, all these areas will be talked or communicated in these 4 days, in order to make sure that from the beginning of the planning, or from the moment that we talk about the IACs, and till we complete the complete process, we will be able to understand, we will be able to take over the complete process, and to make sure that the particular system will be secure in using this particular standard. And we will be talking about not only talking about a theoretical based modules, we will be having hands-on practical exercises, we will be dealing with real world cases, in order to make sure that the person who have took this particular course will be able to understand what the particular course is talking about, and how that particular knowledge that the person gains from this particular course can be used, can be implemented in their company, on their organization that they're working for, or in their work, day-to-day work that they do. So we will be talking about the once the course is completed, we will be able to understand about the program implementation. That is how the particular system, the IACA cybersecurity systems, will be able to understand about the issues, understand about the operation constraints in the particular industrial environment. What are the different problems that they face? What are the requirements that need to be addressed? What are the constraints that our people face in the field of the industrial environments when they are trying to implement the industrial automated control system in the organization? Risk assessment, making sure that the particular defining an appropriate or understanding what the risk is. So now risk analysis is very important part. Just to understand what the risk is also very important. Even if we do not treat the risk, understanding the risk, understanding there is an existence of risk is way important than being oblivious to that factor. Right. So understanding the risk, what are the risks that the organization is having within the organization? What are the different types of risks that is associated with the organization? What are the different security level based upon the asset? Understanding what are the assets that we need to be secure? What are the major or the primary asset that we need to be secure? And what are the different areas where the organization will be impacted by any kind of issues that are associated with the particular organization? Strategic alignment towards the organization, what decision should we take, the objectives that we are taking, how to make sure that the particular objective align with the security, how the security objective can be aligned with the organizational goals, mandates, their mission, vision, values that they carry on, will be discussed in the strategic alignment of the course. And team leadership, talking about multidisciplinary teams across the organization. Each and every person who is associated with the organization will be get benefited from the particular standard, which is IEC 62443, in whatever the areas where the person is working on, whether if it is engineering, operation, IT, management function, wherever the person is working on, the person will be how that particular person can be benefited from the particular system. These are the major areas that we will be talking, or we will be discussing in the course ISA IEC 62443. Standard, structure, and scope of the organization. So this is where I've earlier mentioned about the different standards associated with the multiple different standards, which is coming under 62443, which is we are discussing about for 62443 1x, 2x, 3x, and 4x. Where the 1x and 2x, whereas 1x is just a understanding about the glossary. We're talking about the terminologies that we will be mostly using in the industrial automated control systems. Major terminologies, what the glossary, the foundation model, what are the different areas that will be working, the conformance metrics associated with the particular IACS security across all the stakeholders. What are the different topics that we will be covering? What we will be discussing about the foundational part, talking about the terminologies, models, foundation models. We're talking about the glossary, all these areas about the industrial automation control system. Coming on towards the 42003 2x, we are getting, or we are understanding more about the process, governance process. We are talking about the program requirements. We are talking about, sorry, the asset management, who will be the owner of the asset, who will be responsible for if something has happened to the asset. We will be talking about incident response, patch management. In order to understand about, we'll be talking about organizational structure. We will be talking about the each and every person who's included in the particular system, in order to provide a maximum amount of security, and giving or sharing the responsibility for each and every person, in order to make sure that each and every one will be having their own responsibility, and they will be able to manage those responsibilities that's provided to them, in order to make sure that each and everyone will be having their own responsibility and can manage what the issue or whatever they are taking, in order to implement much security in that particular system. On 3x, we cover a system level design. We will understand about what is we will start with the security by design model, in order to understand about what are the risk methods that we are taking. We talk about network architecture on both. So network architecture, the technical function and security requirement. We are discussing not only about IT security, we are also talking about the OT security, in order to make sure that both IT and OT in the organization is able to is able to put forward, in order to get a proper functions associated with the organization, and making sure that a maximum amount of security is provided to each and every departments associated with the industrial system. Now it will give us a clear understanding about what is security risk assessment, how to do the risk assessment, what are the different steps. In the later part of the slide, of later part of this particular meeting, we will also be discussing about risk management. What are the process that we will be doing in order to do the particular risk assessment in the organization. We will be talking about network architectures, in order to how to implement, or how to make sure that the network associated with an organization is secure. Now think about some perpetrator or some attackers getting into the organization network, and now he will start scanning the network, and think about the confidential information that we will be sharing. We think about the information that we have set it up in our control systems, sharing throughout the system. If someone attacker getting into the system and accessing all this information, unauthorized information, which can always cause the confidentiality issues, the integrity issues into our organization. Now, in order to prevent this, we use multiple methods. We may use firewalls, we may use encryption method like AES, DES, cryptographic encryption methods, encryption algorithms. Even the data that we store in this database, we will also use security systems or security measures over there. We will be again using the IAM, which is identity access management, and we'll also giving or saving the information in a cryptographic algorithm, using cryptographic algorithm, to make sure that no one will be able to access that particular information, any confidential information in the organization, without a proper authorization. Now, 62443 4x, specifically a technical security requirement for each and every device, component, software, each and every activity, even if it is a hardware, even if it is a software that we use in the organization, to make sure that the security will be provided to each and every part of the organization, which will be using in the organization, to provide a maximum security, which will again result in the security which is used in the data, the network that associated with the particular organization. Now, why cybersecurity in IT and OT matters, right? Why cybersecurity in IT and OT matters? Now, IT security, let me start with IT security. IT security, the security, when we hear the security, the term that we remember first will be the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. In IT, information security, the complete information that is not even in the form of a digital, whether if it is saved in a server, computer, or an electronic device. We are also talking about the information that is saved anywhere, even the pen and paper method that we traditionally use to give the information. We are saving, or we are making sure that each and every information that associated with the organization is secure. Now, how it is secure? It is secure that in a CAA tried, using a CAA tried. That is, confidentiality of the information is secure. That is, no one who is not authorized to access the information will not be able to access the information. Now, how we will do that? We have multiple methods, like the identity access management. We will define the roles and responsibilities in the organization, who will be having what are the responsibilities, and we will only provide the information which that person requires in order to get the work done. Now, integrity, how to make sure that the integrity is managed. We are collecting the complete information in a complete way, and we are making sure that no kind of alteration, no kind of obliteration, no kind of changes in the information is made by anyone who is not authorized to do. And availability of the information, whenever someone needs an information, we'll be providing it. Now, we'll use multiple methods to do this. We'll use network security. We are providing DMZ, which is demilitarized zone, which is a separate server which is kept in a system. Someone will be able to access, but it will not be related with the internal systems that we have within the organization. So, for example, if the organization is having a website or website and everything, it will be hosted in the web server, which will be putting in a DMZ server. So now everyone all around the world will be able to access the website, should be able to access the website. That's the whole point of website. So even if someone access to website and try to get into the system, they will not be able to do that because of the security that we provided in the DMZ zone. Now, encryption network, like we use asymmetric encryption. Now nowadays we are able to use both the symmetric and asymmetric encryptions in order to secure the particular system and make sure that the transaction or this particular change or the decryption and encryption is much faster than the earlier time. We use continuous monitoring. We use the incident we will use the intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system, in order to monitor the particular system, in order to understand if there is any kind of attack that is happening, and we can be prepared in the before the attack attack happening, and we can make sure that the necessary security measures can be taken to prevent such kind of attacks happening from the organization. Supporting business, understanding about the risk, understanding about the system, in order to make sure that we have been checked, we have been roamed around with all the risks that could happen in an organization, to understand or to get more information regarding that. Moving on to OT security now. OT security is as important as the IT security. We cannot say that the IT security is more important or OT security is more important. It is as important as both of them are important as each other. It's like hand in hand. We should make sure that both IT and OT security goes hand in hand. Even in OT security, we are making sure that the availability, integrity, and confidentiality of a reliable physical process is happening. So in OT security, we are mostly dealing with the technology, the physical technology, the machines, the systems, which if even a small disruption in these machines can cause a catastrophic effect, can give a catastrophic effect. Even a life can be in danger if such kind of any kind of machines, even a machine, get some or the other kind of disturbance or disruptions in their work. So making sure that all the equipments, machinery, critical operation are secure from any kind of disruption, and even if any kind of disruption happen to the particular system, we are making sure that the particular system is secure, or no catastrophic event, or no one will be getting harmed, or no huge problems will be made. Because if any kind of disruption happen, the complete process will be automatically shut down, even if the user or even if the person who is using the machine knows about the particular disruption, the particular system will be shut down, to make sure that the security will be managed throughout the system, to make sure that any kind of disruptions that happen in the system will not be going out or beyond the control of the person who is using it. So the main objective is to make sure that we are providing, or we are using this particular system, we are using this particular process, because we know that people working in oil rig, the people working in gas stations, the people who are working in a huge industries is working or risking their life in some or the other way. But by using OT security, we are making sure that we are providing them a safe, we are providing them a plan, or we are providing them a hazard-free environment, to make sure that no one will be getting harmed because of this. Now, we are the complete IACS can be called as the smart environment nowadays, in order to because each and every device is having their own control system, their own management system, which they can automatically work on if there is any kind of disruptions that happens in the system. So this particular security, OT security, will give, both OT and IT security will give us an understanding about how the particular systems, why do we need a particular cyber security in both IT and OT. If there is no security in IT, the data that we collect from different parts of the organization, the confidential information related to the organization will be secured, and OT, to make sure that we are providing a safe, planned, and a hazard-free environment to each and everyone who's working in the system. Now, why IEC for 62,443 matters in the organization? It is an integrated framework with including both IT and OT security. So we have already discussed about the IT and OT, why it is important, what is IT security and OT security. Now, when we talk specifically about 62,443, which is having a great understanding and a great description and a great management of both IT security and OT security, which an organization can implement in their organization to manage both their information technology and operational technology in their organization, to make sure that both the environments are creating most secure amount of solutions, and without giving out any of the gaps which any kind of attacks could happen. So they are preventing all the kind of attacks by providing each and every security measures for the process. They will understand about the robust, they will understand about the risk, conduct a risk management by using 62,443. We will be able to do the risk management in a proper structured framework. We will be able to do each and every step-by-step activity in order to understand about the risk associated with the organization, provide the treatment in order to treat each and every risk, and to make sure that each and every risk is under the acceptance level. Understand about the each and every requirement that an organization need in terms of IT and OT, and also gives us a proper resilience towards the resilience to the organization if any kind of attack happens. Now, why do we need a resilience? In order to make sure that the organization operations will be managed even if any kind of attacks happen to the organization. So if the organization undergo an attack, we cannot say that, okay, by using 62,443, the organization will be 100% secure. There is nothing called as 100% secure in the world. Now, when an attack happened to the organization, what it helps is, how the 62,443 helps us, it will make sure that the operations will not be get affected because of this. The services that we provide to the people, the services that we provide to the different parties or the customers will not be disrupted because of the attack that happened. We can manage the attack on the other one end, and can provide a different, or we can manage the particular attack in a different end. Fundamental security concepts similar to what we have discussed till now, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Even talking about confidentiality, why confidentiality is important? Because to make sure that whatever the information that we are using in the organization, whatever the information that we are collected from the PLC, which is the programmable logical control that we use in the organization, the configurations that we use, the process recipes that we use, the data that we use, in order to make sure that the proprietary controls that we use in the organization, the designs, the management data, the management process, the designs, the each and every information that no one else should know other than the authorized people, to make sure that each and every data, each and every process that we do will be confidential, that no one else other than the authorized people will be able to access those information. Even if they get access to this information, they will not be able to read through or to understand what the system is, or to go through, or to make sure that what the actual information that they've collected. I'm talking about the encryption over here. Even if the encrypted data, if the attacker get an encrypted data without the proper key, the attacker will not be able to decrypt it. Now the quantum computers has also been introduced into the system, which will make them, which will provide security, or which will provide an upper hand to the people who are using the encryption method in order to decrypt it using the quantum computer. But we are having a quantum proof cryptographic algorithms now, so we can use that in order to make sure that even if the attacker gets the data, and even if the attacker is having a quantum computer, they will not be able to decrypt the system or decrypt the data which is confidential to our organization. Integrity assurance, making or guaranteeing that no one or no person around the world will be able to obliterate or to make changes or to do any kind of alteration into the system, providing an accurate or trustworthiness to the system, providing an accurate data, providing a trustworthy, providing a actual factual data, and giving each and every process, or making sure that each and every data that we have collected, gone through the census that we are having, the process that we are doing, each and every one, everything will be managed appropriately and will not be providing any kind of information towards the will not be altering, or an actual data will be provided to each and everyone. And availability, because availability is very important, because the complete data that we use, that we collected, that we have stored at some places to be used. If we want to use a particular data, consider that I have uploaded something onto a server and I'm not able to access that file when I need that particular file. Now think about it. I will not be able to access, or I will not be able to, the particular system is not able to provide what it is meant to do. Now, to make sure that a secure, and even if the system is providing access to anyone, that is also not good for me. Right? So providing an accurate control, providing an identity access management and a control into that particular system in order to provide what I require at a time that I need, and making sure that the data I have uploaded is complete and is not changed at any point in time. Risk management in IT and OT structure. So the risk management that is used in IEC 62443 is basically, or inspired from 31,000 ISO standard, or IEC 27005. Now, in this particular standard, the risk management is managed through a particular framework that associated with the or to give, or provide a particular understanding about the system. Now, each and every organization will be having their own different structure to do it, but the system, or the standard which we are looking for, will give us a proper framework how to do it. Now, each and every organization, before we are doing a particular risk management, we need to understand about the organization's context, the objective of the organization, the internal and the external threat of the organization, the acceptance level of risk that the organization hold, or the risk appetite or risk tolerance level that the organization hold, in order to understand what is the basic level, or what is the minimum level the organization can go in terms of security. Only then we will go to the risk assessment. Now, risk assessment is holding three different areas. One is risk identification, analysis, and evaluation. Now, identifying the risk in risk, nothing but, what is risk? Risk is nothing but a vulnerability that being exploited. Now, we will understand about the vulnerability. We will take a list of vulnerabilities that is there in the organization and check the likelihood and impact associated with that particular vulnerability. Likelihood, the probability of something, the probability of the vulnerability could be exploited, and impact, if the particular vulnerability is exploited, what are the effects that it is going to cause in the organization. Now, once we get all this information, we can analyze the risk level of the organization, which will be done in the risk analysis. We will understand about the risk level under whether the risk is in a catastrophic level, or in a high level, or low or medium level, by analyzing the likelihood and impact of each and every vulnerability that we have took. Now, we will prioritize each and every risk that we have identified and decide what type of controls, or what type of method that we need to use in order to do the treatment. So this is the complete risk management in an organization, from identifying the vulnerability, or even before that, identifying the acceptance level of the organization, till the risk treatment, documenting the same. This is the complete framework that provided by 31,000 or 27,005 in the risk management, which will be used again in the IT and OT infrastructure in order to understand about the risk. So I've just given you a framework just like 6200443, to understand, okay, these are the step-by-step activities that we can do in order to understand about the particular management or the management of the risk or the data that we are using in the organization. And now we have a lot of information that we'll be taking up in order to implement this into our organization. Now the implementation steps: identify and classify asset. Whatever just said in the earlier part, to identify what are the risks or vulnerabilities associated with the particular vulnerabilities associated with the organization, and classify them depending upon the asset that we have, or classify the asset and check the vulnerabilities that each and every asset holds. Define zones and contours to make sure that a proper security provider and establish a secure communication throughout the organization. Evaluate the risk, understand the vulnerability, understand the potential impact that each and every vulnerabilities can cause. Get a target level, nothing but the acceptance level in the organization, the risk acceptance level, and apply controls in order to make sure that each and every organization or each and every part of the organization, the vulnerabilities associated with each and every organization is controlled or limited, in order to make sure that it will not exceed the target level that we have, security level, or the assigned target security level that is provided by the organization, and conduct a periodic review. It is not a one-time thing that we need to do in our organization, the risk management. It should be conducted in a periodic way, once in 3 months, once in 6 months, depending upon the organization. And from here, I invite Shruti to take forward with the session. Shruti, are you able to hear me?
So thank you, Vivek. Thank you so much. I think you have explained really well how much this is important as an organization to implement it if you're someone dealing with the industry, this kind of industry. Now, risk management is something, it is the backbone. Either you talk about ISO 31000, either you talk about 27005. These are something like a backbone, a foundation level. If this is not clear, the steps that I'm going to share with all of you right now here is something that will not be aligned. So number one thing is to make sure that you identify what is critical for your organization. You need to do the assessment. You need to analyze that, okay, these are the things which are critical. These are the things, because see, if you're going to say that every process is critical, again, that's going to be a very heavy expense on your business, on your organization. So firstly, once you have the data, then you need to follow the steps. You need to analyze the risk associated with your assets. It could be your primary asset, it could be your supportive asset. Now, once you have that data with you, that gives you a clear picture that, okay, this is my primary asset, this is my supportive asset, now I need protection on that. Now, once that picture is clear on your mind, then you do the analysis. Then you do the assessment, wherein you will identify that, okay, with my SCADA, this is the risk, because we know that there are a lot of vulnerabilities in SCADA systems. If you talk about PLC also, there are a lot of vulnerabilities which are there. So you identify, you create risk scenarios wherein you are able to say that, okay, these are the situations which can come, and these are the threats which can be there, these are the vulnerability which can be exploited, but which controls do we have in the organization? That's the question one has to ask. So this assessment, which right now, because it's a webinar, it's only for 1 hour, we have explained you the process in 2 lines. But if you take the course with us, you would understand that, okay, this is the process which takes a lot of time. See, in the course also, you will get the step-by-step implementation, what to do first, what to do second, what to do third. However, when you do it practically, it's a different ball game altogether. Sometimes it even takes months to do that, because if your process is very critical, it's a lot of complexities are there in your process. It can differ. It can differ from company to company. There is not like a one single approach which is followed by everyone, right? So these are like basic things, basic requirements which needs to be there. Now, the requirements, the 7 foundation requirements that we see on the screen. Now, why so if I go towards the requirements which is there, now the standard which we have, it defines that. So okay, so now let's just deep dive into the heart of your ISA IEC 62443. There are seven foundational requirements. All right, they are not merely some conceptual categories which they have given. No, they serve as the technical backbone of your entire IACS cybersecurity program. Now, what is IACS? It is your industrial automation and control system. Now, they are actually translating the security levels through SL1 through SL4 into the concrete, auditable engineering requirements. So there are different kind of requirements which you will have to assess, and you have to map against your own company. Do you have all these things which are mentioned here or not? Right? So let's start. Now, the number one that we can see here, it's written that identification and authentication control. Now, like we know, for anything, like if you all are working professionals, you know that everywhere you have this authentication control, access control, and this is not a very unique concept. This is something you see everywhere in your organization. Now, this requirement is all about ensuring that everyone, every user, every device, every software agents, they are accessing the environment through your authentication, through your analysis. Now, what will happen? They will be given some unique IDs for your engineers, for your operators, for your service accounts. There will be strong authentication. If someone is trying to access it remotely, there is going to be a strong authentication. Your device will make sure that there is any credential theft, which is, like we know, it is one of the top vulnerabilities present there, which is your the access control related. So this actually prevents from this to happen as well. Right now, it's just that in your OT, authentication needs to be strong. It's not just OT, in your IT also, but specifically while we are talking about OT, your authentication needs to be strong, but also something predictable and stable, so that there is nothing that can actually disrupt your process. Okay. Now, the number two that we see is your use control. It says it enforces permissions and least privilege operation. Now, when we talk about this, it is actually saying that there is a principle which is known as least privilege. Okay. Now, it just ensures that who is accessing the system. Now, the person will ensure what are they allowed to do. Now, it includes your authorization. It includes that only people who are authorized to do, they can do the job. So that means there will be segregation of duties. You will be given operational level privilege controls whenever required, and the least privilege operation. Now, there is something known as RBAC, or rather I would say role based access control, for your operators, for your maintenance, for your staff. That actually, for example, for an operator, there can be different roles in the organization. For an engineer, for a staff, general staff, for your maintenance people, there are different roles that they play, and they will be given access according to their role. So that's known as RBAC, role-based access control. Then your it will also, I mean, the least privileged function will also ensure that it restrict engineering functions like downloads, mode changes, there is any changes to the firmware if someone is trying to do so, that only people who are authorized, only they can make the changes. Not anyone else would be able to make any changes on the system, which will also prevent anyone to perform command execution. Right? So they won't be able to make any changes. They won't be able to make any changes to the configuration. And because of this principle, it gets safe. Right? So these are like few things. Then the next one that we have is your your system integrity. Now, like, integrity is something that Vivek beautifully explained, that no manipulation should be done. Right? It prevents unauthorized changes and maintains your secure configurations. Now, at the end of the day, configuration is something which is very important for you. Now, if it is not secure, if anyone is actually able to make any changes to your system, then it is not secure. And in the operational, in your OT, we are very much concerned about the security risk, because the impact which it has, it's devastating. It's not just one mere some small business risk. We are talking about OT here, right? So system integrity, it's critical in your OT, because even some small deviations in your work, it can result in unsafe operations. So they need to ensure that your IACS is behaving as designed, without any manipulation, without any modification. Because if it is able to modify anything, then you don't have any control. I'm sorry to say, you don't have any control on your organization, right? So if I'm able to make any changes to the PLC logic, now PLC, as we know, it works on logic. You give some information and then it chooses. Now, if I'm able to make changes on that, if I'm able to make changes on the SCADA, if anything which is there, right? So you need to make sure, like we discussed, the impacts are could be devastating. So you need to make sure that you continuously check the integrity for your components. If you are failing to do so, that can lead to more severe attacks. So please make sure that your integrity is maintained, and that's a continual process. You can't say that, oh yes, I did that 1 month ago. No, it's a continuous process which you need to make sure that the integrity is being maintained all the time, right? Apart from that, you need to make sure, see, at the end of the day, malware is something we all needs to be protect the organization from, right? So malware protection needs to be there, and if it is not there, malware can be easily injected on your database, on your system, and it is something that you won't even know, right? So because of this, the integrity plays a key role. And like, Vivek discussed in the beginning of the session, that three factors which are really important for an organization is your confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So right now, when we say system integrity, we are talking about there should be no manipulation on the data. If there is, then someone else has the access. I'm sorry to tell you that, right? So that needs to be clearly maintained. Then we go on to the next requirement, which is your data confidentiality, which talks about safeguarding your sensitive data through encryption, through communications. There are different type of encryptions. We have asymmetric encryption, we have symmetric encryption. How do you do that? That's another story, but I can tell you, one uses public key, another one uses two keys, public and private key. Now, if they use two keys, it is more secure. Now, of course, based on the what kind of work you're doing, you can juggle and you can decide which encryption you can apply, right? So confidentiality is important, availability, integrity, everything is important here. Then we come on to the next one, which is restricted data flow. So it limits your communication between zones using firewalls, conduits. Now this is very important. Now anyone can actually gain access to your information, okay? And we need to make sure that confidentiality is maintained, that restriction is somewhere maintained. You need to make sure that not everyone can actually enter your information. You need to make sure that there is a restricted data flow. So that how can you maintain that? Firewalls creates a demilitarized zone through which you're able to maintain that. Apart from that, you can do the network segmentation. You can use the zone and conduit model. That's another model which we discuss in our course. You can have strict firewall between the levels of model that you want. You can have, like, different things are there, different protocols are there, so that there is no undefined lateral movements inside your control network. So if required, do the segregation of network. And in OT, it's very important that the net, it is segmented. Your devices, your OT, your work which is going on, it's in a different network from your operational work that you do. If you are keeping it on one network, then you are just one disaster away from a cyber attack, and it will compromise everything at one go. So network segmentation is really, really important. Now, when we go towards the next one, which is your timely response to events, so you need to make sure, like any event, if it happens, you need to communicate, okay? You need to ensure that there is an effective detection of that event if it is there. Logging is there. Now, the government also actually regulates this. And in most countries, if I talk about in India also, the organizations, they are mandated to maintain the logs for 6 months, which is 180 days. Then alerts, and then resource availability, so it preserves essential functions even during attacks or failures. So that's your last principle of CIA, which talks about being available all the time. so that even during attacks, even during failure, you are there to provide the services and your customer doesn't know what you're facing at the back end. The business should not be interrupted even though some things are going on. So that's about the foundational requirements. Moving on to the next one, why this framework? Why ISCS framework? So first of all, you need to define roles and responsibility for your asset owners, for your service providers. Now, if you have this framework, it gives you, kind of like a different way of things which is there. Now, when you talk about different things, for example, you say that, this framework, see, everything has a good and bad side. Now, if you want to be make sure that these are the things that you want to cover. Now, first of all, accountability factor is really important as an organization. Okay, that accountability factor makes you understand that who's responsible for what role. You understand who are the asset owners, who are the service providers, who are going to integrate your controls, and who are going to process it, right? That is why it actually ensures that there is a proper, consistent security framework across your life cycle. Either you talk about your design, operation, maintenance, it is something which is combining everything, right? So the program benefits are, it ensures consistent, documented, and auditable security practices. It promotes your shared responsibility and continual improvement. So continual improvement is very important. Now, let's suppose you're doing something today which is on 11 December 2025. Now you can't say that, okay, I am done with it and I don't think we need to do it anything anymore. It's not like that. If you have defined your asset owners, products, suppliers, integrators, and everything, you need to make sure that whatever you have done, you're doing it on a continual basis, right? Because it impacts everything. This framework is something which is ensuring that cybersecurity is no longer a like afterthought after you have built a design or something. Okay, you're talking about your suppliers, your integrators, your asset owners. They all are working together with you. And if you have this alignment, if you use this framework, it makes you predictable, it makes you auditable, it makes everything repeatable, which in because of which, what do you get? You get less system failures. Your impact and everything is decreased, right? We can never say that the risk will be zero, but we can definitely say it reduces to a good amount of level, which is there. So that's about it. Moving on to the next slide, roles and collaboration, governance and implementation. Now, why governance is required, why implementation is required? See, when you talk about governance, your top management sets the strategic direction that this is something that we want to go ahead with the organization, right? It says that, when you go into a new company, you will know if the leadership is strong or not. This is something you can actually feel it if the leadership is strong, right? So they are the people who are giving you the budget, giving you the direction, giving you the resources. Now, if everywhere you will see that there's a top-down approach. If you don't see it happening from the above, most likely it will not happen in your, lower levels of the organization also. So top management support is the ultimate thing that you need. If you want to start this process, make sure that you get the support from the top management. If you don't have the support from the top management, then, I mean, I'm not talking about this project. Every project would be a failure because budget, money, resources, everything comes from the top. So they need to be on your side. And yeah, and then integrating IT, OT management under unified governance model, it eliminates overlaps and clarifies the accountability. So that is what is there. So we need to make sure that all these things are defined. Now talking about your next slide, which is there, which is the roles and collaborations. Like we discussed, we have some roles and collaboration. So there are 4 primary stakeholders. You have asset owners. Asset owners, they oversee your cybersecurity program. They accept risk for their systems. They ensure the compliance, risk management, secure operations are there throughout the life cycle, right? There are system integrators. You have secure architectures. It ensures what? It ensures the compatibility of the components. So these four roles, these are the primary stakeholders in the organization, and they are very important, right? So these are like asset owners, like I said, they own the operation risk and everything is there. System integrators, they develop your architecture with the whatever goal that you give them. And then you have the product suppliers. So they are basically, they provide your firmware, vulnerability management, documentation, configuration, everything is on them. Then you got the providers, your service providers, so monitoring, incident handling, forensic part, remote access, all those such things comes from them, right? So these are like basic things which we have. Now moving on to our next slide, which is on the training and awareness. Humans, one of the weakest link, right? Now it's actually, I mean, we are humans at the end of the day. We have emotions. We might somewhat fall into the trap of these attacks, right? Machines, of course, they are machines, they cannot. But as humans, there are some risks like social engineering. There are a lot of things, and that's why they need to be provided proper training and awareness. The human factor is very important, and they are central to both security and resilience in the industrial environment. So training must combine with the education, practical exercises, behavioral awareness, and the personnel learn not only secure operational procedures but also the underlying reasons for security measures. So when you give awareness, you are informing them about what the process are, something which they are not aware of, right? It's not like you're making them skilled on anything, you are making them aware what is happening, what they should know as an organization. So you have Stuxnet, how single human action can actually have a devastating effect. If they put a one USB on the on the drive, the entire plant could get compromised if there's a vulnerability, if there's a malware in the system, in the USB, right? So yeah, humans can have bad intentions, but sometimes they can do some things unintentionally also. So if someone has bad intention, anyways, you can't do anything on that part. You need to make people aware, but if they are making bad decisions, now of course they are using it with their conscious. Now, of course, for that we have our laws, we have our policies and regulations which are there, which will handle that. But however, this is mostly for people who are to warn them that okay, these things are not allowed, and for people who might click on it unintentionally, because a person or a you can say a client who's not even trained, who's not even know, is the potential risk. So that is a real thing. Now moving on to the next slide, we have incident response and verification. Now, like we discussed, like Vivek also clearly mentioned, that incidents will happen, you can't do anything on that, because they can be smaller incident, but risk management manages the risk, but the risk is always there, it can never be zero. Okay, so you talk about Bhopal gas, you talk about Piper Alpha, you talk about Deepwater Horizon, everything has happened and they had a catastrophic events, catastrophic disaster which happened because of inadequate inadequate training or untested plans. So the number one thing that we need to make sure is that we are every time checking, we are every time ready for, is a preparation then, okay, what to be done in what cases. There needs to be escalation paths, there needs to be communication channels, there needs to be proper drills happening in the organization, and reviews needs to happen. So these are some things which are mandatory as an organization. Moving on to the next slide, these are some clause requirements. So you have clause 5.4, which talks about verifying training effectiveness and ensuring continual improvement as part of your compliance. Training programs must be regularly assessed and updated so staff stay vigilant as technologies and threats evolve. Continuous improvements needs to be there in your staff, in the industry best practices. This is an ongoing thing. There is no explanation, there is no excuse on that. You need to continually update, because the risk is changing every time. The risk is dynamic, and with the today's world, everything is so dynamic. Everything is changing in a bit. So you need to be ready. If you want to combat those risks, you need to be ready with whatever is happening in the industry also. You need to be connected with everything. So that's about it. Moving on to the next slide. Conclusion is if you go through this program, it will actually empower you to understand that what are the industrial risks which are there. And this is very good certification for people who are, you know, who are starting with it. Maybe you are from an entry level, or maybe you are a security advisor, because we have also trained who are security advisors, who are people who are looking for these kind of courses, right? So we have a provisional implementer for someone who's like, very new in the industry, doesn't have much, experience. We have implementer if you have 2 years of experience. Then we have lead implementer if you can show that you have 5 years of experience and more than that. Then senior if you're someone who has been in the industry from the longer period of time. Then you have the senior lead implementer, wherein you showcase the 10 years of experience. So in an industrial automation control management, you can show the experience. Now that's about it. Now moving on. So we can now have a question and answer session. So if any one of you have questions, me and Vivek are here to help you with the questions. And yeah, over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shruti and Vivek. That has been a very insightful session, I would say. And I would like to also thank our attendees. So let's see if we have any set of questions. Hold on. All right, so we actually have a few. So I'll just pick one or two since we have time constraint. So the first question here is that in your experience, what is the typical timeline and resource requirement for a mid-sized industrial company to achieve 62,443 alignment?
See, typical timeline, if you are a organization, now see, the point is it depends from organization to organization. It could take you 6 months, it could take you less than that also. Maybe you are already aligned with a lot of requirements, you're already managing the risk, or maybe you already have some standards implemented. So it depends on the maturity of the organization. I don't know if you are starting from zero, if you're starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have some levels defined. And as an organization or as a consultant, when they go also, first thing we need to do is that we analyze the organization, right? That what is actually missing there. So we need to do the gap assessment to find out. It could take typically 3 months, 6 months, depending on organization, because we need to make them ready so that they are then ready for the certification. So it's a long process, differing from organization to organization.
Okay. The next question is that from your experience, which part of 62,443 do organizations tend to underestimate in terms of whether it's time, effort, or the cost?
I would say the one factor that they tend to underestimate is doing risk management properly, and sometimes in the governance part also. Sometimes what happens, there is a problem in the culture, right? And culture is something which takes time. You cannot implement a culture of security in the organization overnight, right? So sometimes if your leadership is not strong, it will reflect, and that will actually reflect on everyone's work. So that is something which I have seen as per my experience. Sometimes it could be that the organization is a very reactive organization. It's not a proactive organization, wherein they try to, they see everything as a cost. They don't have a strategy. They don't have like a roadmap. But instead of that, for them, everything is a cost. Even training is a cost to them, right? So that depends. But the number one thing is leadership. If the leadership is fine, everything will run smoothly. But if it is not fine, then yeah, you may have a lot of difficulties, roadblocks in the organization.
Wonderful. I think, yeah, that's about it for the questions part. If there's any, we will email to you since the time is limited. I would like to also thank our audience who have joined for their active participation. So as we conclude, I would like to remind all the attendees that the recording of this webinar will be available on our website, and you will be informed via email once it's ready. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to PSCB. And once again, Shruti and Vivek, thank you very much. And thank you everyone who joined us
So much.
today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.